Hello, everyone, and welcome to I guess Halloween, if you celebrate it, edition of October 31st of the Product Analytics Group Sync. We'll go ahead and get started with the board review. So I will share my screen. Cool. So we just have our standard planning issue. We have a bug for analytics visualization, which is in, problem validation. So until that moves on, stay there. I've got another one, solution validation for adding product analytics visualizations to custom dashboards for the feature is onboarded. Seems like it's a bug that needs some input there. And then a bug related to analytics dashboards menu and settings that are no longer visible. So that's assigned to Ezekiel, but see
Dennis,
if that needs a yes.
Could we change the aspect ratio of this? It's really hard to read.
Okay.
On your vertical screen.
Sure. Give me 1 second. Lost my mouse. Sorry, 1 second. Is that better?
I can definitely read it. Thank you.
Okay. Its font size gets smaller as you magnify it. That's interesting. Okay. Okay, moving on to there's nothing in design. Move on to planning breakdown. We've got a number of issues here. Okay, the icon. Now it's harder for me to read it. The icons get smaller, but the fonts get slightly larger. So product analytics, project level settings remain invisible when disabled on an instance. And we've got tracking for the visualization designer that's in planning breakdown. Is there anything we can update on here?
No, I'm almost done with planning breakdown. This should start development hopefully by the end of today. Try and get it done before the milestone ends.
Okay. Cool. And then we have adding product analytics usage visualization to show the total usage of the group for usage quota is assigned to Elwin. That's still in planning breakdown. So
just given his go-ahead for his implementation plan with a few comments. So I'm assuming once he's online, he'll be moving into ready for development.
Great. Cool. And then we've got a richer empty state for product usage quota as well, which I imagine Elwin will pick up as he moves along. We've got an issue blocked by user ID type on default dashboards.
I've picked up the schema related issue to unblock this.
Got it. Great. We've wanted to connect the GitLab project to a custom dashboard repository. Max, I think we've already done this, right? So
yeah, I left it open because I wasn't sure if there was anything else that needed to be done. But if not, feel free to close.
Yeah, that I think it was straightforward in terms of just we just wanted to make a custom dashboard, custom project as the home for the dashboards for now. So we can mark that as done. And then we have the dashboard designer feature flag rollout, which is ready for development, but that might actually be blocked on the remaining issues for tracking. But we can get to that when we get to that issue. We have an issue for adding product analytics to the experiment features list. Halil, is there anything to call it here? It's still ready for development.
No, like this was actually already merged, but then it was reverted due to an issue. I need to check what was the issue and what should we do. Yeah, I haven't come to it yet.
Yeah, I think there was a bug related to displaying the analytics dashboards because it was a little too tightly coupled and made it disappear for optimize. But we also wanted to make sure that it was an opt-in toggle in addition to experiments because we want to make sure that there's a control in place to be able to determine when users can opt in or not.
Cool.
So, we've got an onboarding video walkthrough that still unassigned, so we'll just move on. Logging, I think we're done here. It's assigned to me, but Max, you've been doing a bulk of the work here. All of the instances that we manage are sending logs.
Correct. That's the correct caveat. Staging is not yet logging, but production is.
Has Calliope responded as far as the managed environments at this point? I know you pinged her a couple of weeks back.
I will chase her up. She was still on PTO last time I checked, but that was last week. She may be back now. Leave it with me. I will have a look.
I'm just going to add you to this since you've been
Yeah,
doing
thanks.
a lot of work. And that should wrap up logging for us. Rob, you've got the kube schema work to exclude anonymous users, which is blocking the other blocked issue.
Yeah, no real update on this. Been wrapping up other things, and I'll be working on this later today. First thing tomorrow morning. Should be take very short amount of time to get done.
Awesome. And then we've got improving sessions database performance. Max, anything you want to comment on here?
Yeah, we're nearly done. I know I've been saying that for like 3 weeks now, but we are nearly done. So the changes have been merged to the configurator about half an hour ago to repopulate all the old data from old sessions into new sessions. So that'll be in the dev kit hopefully today, and then we'll get it into the analytics stack and deployed and cross everything that it migrates successfully in the non-shared cluster. I'm not too worried about the other ones; they'll all be fine. But migrating the GitLab.com data is likely to take 30 to 45 minutes. So fingers crossed that goes smoothly, but we can always intervene manually if not.
Fingers crossed for sure, but should yep, will be exciting to improve the performance there.
Sounds like a deploy party.
Yeah, for sure. See if you can't get them like lunch, so much for that. Would this be in review, or is there any more actual work that you need to code?
There's still some more work to do. So there's still two
I see.
MRs that are waiting to be reviewed that will actually change the cube schema and the built-in dashboard.
So then so they're in review then.
Yeah, I guess they are. They are ready for review, but are not currently being reviewed. So somewhere in between the two. I'll let you choose.
Right. Well, I'll leave it. I'll leave it to you then. Cool. We have a work in process issue for gathering cost data for the product analytics cluster. James, I feel like we've done the at least initial work for this. We can kind of keep it updated as we go along because to kind of hone in on the figures. But what do you think as far as gathering cost data?
Yeah, I'd say that's in review even.
Okay, sure. We're just monitoring it.
Yeah, we're just monitoring.
Okay, cool. Cool. And lastly, for InDev, we have determined a strategy for running background migrations or data enrichment for ClickHouse database changes. Max, you've had a bunch of stuff here.
I guess this is actually really closely related to the one above as well, because we needed to solve this before we could handle all sessions. We might be able to close that one because I don't know if there's any actual work to come off the back of it that isn't covered by the other issue as well. There's quite a lot of crossover.
Yeah, there is. Good. Rob.
Could we document the decided upon strategy maybe? Just, it doesn't necessarily have to be the only strategy, but as an example of something we've already done, here's the legwork, here's the
yeah, I think
here's the recommended approach that we've used in the past. Don't be wedded to it though.
I'll double check, but I think all the conversations between myself and database experts is in that issue, and that's basically the process we decided on the end. But yeah, we can definitely document the actual decided on strategy.
That being just trying to use migrations as much as possible, right? I guess there's a little bit more to it in terms of like how long you would keep old tables and things like that. But
yeah.
All right. Cool. So we'll
leave it there for now, and I'll adjust it and see if maybe we can close that.
Sounds good. All right. Then moving up the in review, we've got added using user event tracking for dashboard designers. Jan, anything you'd like to call out here?
No, just assign that to reviewers to review. Yeah, nothing more to add.
Awesome. Alan has a update to the column chart to allow the setting stack option on series data. I don't know if anyone has an update on that. Otherwise, we can just continue moving on. We have a drop Jitsu key column. Max, anything you want to call out here?
It's dropping a column called Jitsu key. It's in database migration, database maintainer review, so it should be gone in the next day or two.
Awesome.
May I just, yeah. So I don't know if there is an issue for the removing the ignore rule. If not, maybe Max, can you create one after this is merged? Yeah,
will do. Good call.
All right. we've got decoupling the customizable dashboard GraphQL from product analytics feature state. Halil and Jan, you two have been working on this one. Anything to call out here?
Yeah, so the backend was already merged like in the last milestone. And after I went for vacation, I saw that Jan actually worked on it. Thanks, Jan. And right now it's in maintainer review, as far as I know. So is that anything else or?
No, that's it. Just for visibility, this does impact a temporary solution that Optimize added for group level dashboards, where we're now rendering both the GraphQL response and a hard-coded temporary entry that they added. So there's like two VSDs. But since group level dashboards is behind its own separate feature flag and has essentially very little to do with product analytics, it's not a blocker for us or them in any way, and they'll handle that in a follow-up.
Sounds good. All right, we've got the product analytics visualizations for each project usage within a group that's in review for the usage quota work. And then favorite issue, think of the past couple milestones, adding with fill order by modifier to the cube click cost driver. Rob, is there anything you'd like to get out here?
Yeah, so a general update for the team. I finally got some kind of response from Cube, and more or less their response was yeah, nah. With very confusing reasoning why. So I pushed back, explained why we've gone this route and why what they're suggesting just isn't a viable solution in the first place, and the fact that it's a community thing they're not even bothering to maintain. And I haven't heard back since, and that was a week ago now. So yeah, we're going to have a conversation very, very soon around what we're going to do with Cube. Might need to be a dedicated session for people that are interested, just to figure something out.
Yeah, feel free to set something up for that, or if you want to use set up some a point for it in the section meeting or anything. I'll leave it to you, Rob, to coordinate that. But I'd like to figure out a path forward. They haven't been the most timely or responsive in general, so I'd like to figure out at least a temporary solution so we can see if there's a solution we can reach with them.
Sure, I'll sort it out.
Thank you. Cool. Then that leaves us with close, which we haven't reviewed in a little bit. I think if I've lost my agenda, no, because it's right next to me. It was add documentation for the visualization designer. Cool. Well, we've got a couple bug fixes by Owen here for the visualization designer for longer legends, and then moving a dashboard that already exists. Planning issue, and we have fixed click events measure. Okay, just making sure I'm not reading that. Fixed click events measure has no corresponding data in Snowplow. Rob, is there anything you'd like to comment on this closed issue?
You secretly love my English. Yeah, it's self-explanatory, really. We now properly support tracking of link-based click events. Obviously, buttons and stuff are handled through custom events and implement your own tracking, but this is a pre-built system we already have for a plugin. Didn't work once we just swapped over to Snowplow. Now it does. So yay.
Awesome. Cool. Allowing users to enter and edit customizable dashboard descriptions. Jan, is there anything you'd like to call out about this?
No, that's exactly what it says on the tin. You can now edit a description.
Awesome. Just to kind of keep it going with the issues you've closed, anything to call about the discard changes modal?
No, again, pretty self-explanatory. Shows a model when you discard changes.
Very nice. Ellen's got a number of improvements to the app structure, or no, this is the initial app structure for usage quota and the table for it as well. He's also created some onboarding documentation, which he's documented in the show and tell, so definitely check that out. Rob, you have a point about this as well. Would you rather save it for the show and tell, or do you want to talk about it a little bit here?
I'll talk about it in the show and tell.
All right, cool. I've closed the customer-facing infrastructure release. It contained a number of different infrastructure-related topics that I've split out into distinct epics for Epic and GA. So it's much clearer in terms of what we need to do to kind of go through each stage. We've got Halil's PTO handoff, and then the issue we just closed. So that's the board review. Thanks everyone for that. As far as what's remaining on our agenda, James has a couple of read-only items, so then we can jump into show and tell. Elwin's is async, but he's linked to an onboarding tutorial that he's created. So definitely feel free to check that out. Otherwise, we'll move on to Rob with pre-aggregations.
So there's not anything really to show at this point. It's more of a call out and a pat on the back that we now properly support pre-aggregations. We have a issue with Cube and ClickHouse and timestamps that I need to figure out in relation to Cube Store, but we can now create Cube pre-aggregations that run through ClickHouse, which may be the solution we end up going with anyway, because it'll probably end up being faster. Got to dig into that. Next step is for us to start actually making use of them and figuring out what pre-aggregations we want to create, especially after Max's brilliant work on the sessions to reducing the time in the sessions. But we do have some possibilities within just the Cube API letting us know slow queries. So I'll be digging into that next. But yeah, that was a painful chunk of work. I'll say that.
Thanks for that. Max, you have a point.
Yeah, I think it might be a conversation to have with James about if we want to set established product norms and say, like, whether we should be telling customers they should be expecting real-time data updates, or whether we should be saying, you will be getting an update once an hour. And if that's the case, then we can make pretty heavy uses of pre-aggregations to save load on our ClickHouse instance. I don't have strong opinions either way, but I certainly wouldn't be against using pre-aggregations pretty heavily.
Right now, our UI at least is visually limited to daily, more or less, for the most part. So we can be pretty heavy-handed, but as we add new time values to the filtering systems and support more variety, we may want to adjust that. We can always have a separated, like I think Google did for years, having real-time data completely separated from the historical data. So you could do like minute-based pre-aggregations and then hourly pre-aggregations or whatever we want to choose, and have two separate workflows for that.
Yeah, I think from a technical perspective, this ties in quite a bit in terms of our general strategy around our data architecture, right? Because right now we're supporting live querying and it's great, but it's only for a handful of internal projects. And so I think we'd really want to start to instrument usage data, what customers are querying, from what time ranges. Obviously, that's going to depend on traction as well as how much time they've collected data. But I think we'll really need to see how it performs in beta, and maybe even into part of our first GA release to really see okay, how do we architect our data for live querying versus we can support queries fast for within a month of 30 days, versus if you want to go year over year or something, maybe a little bit more of an edge case or less commonly used, then maybe that's where pre-aggregations can help us. But we'll have to. I'm supportive of using them as much as we can, because I'm quite hesitant to. I mean, ClickHouse is a fairly new technology to me, at least, but it's working well so far. But I'm always hesitant about allowing live querying for en masse for anybody, because it's hard to support overall. So if it works out, great. If not, we've got pre-aggregations which can kind of help us out, and we'll have to set up the messaging to say, hey, year over year updates at a slower cadence than perhaps quarter over quarter or something like that. But I think starting by instrumenting and seeing how users interact with our data first will be the first step before we make a decision on it. But great work. I know that was a lot of fun to put together, to test, to validate. So thanks everyone in the group that's contributed to the pre-aggregation support there. It's also nice that we're also storing it in ClickHouse as well, which is a added bonus as far as storage, because it stores it compressed and it's relatively cheap to operate. So I think that will actually alleviate a little bit of our worries about additional Cube infrastructure, which I guess we'll have to evaluate too as a follow-up, whether we even keep kubestore running at all, or if we just run a pool of API workers. But that's yeah.
It's a separate. We've got an issue that I'm going to dig into that. There's a question around caching, not even pre-aggregations, but the caching layer at the very top of the stack, and how that affects it. So I'll dig into that.
Yeah, because the documentation wasn't the clearest, because it says kubestore is also responsible for queuing requests and like just executing queries in the background. So in the name, it seemed like it had everything to do with pre-aggregations, but it seems like it does a little bit more than that. So I'm not sure if we can still leverage that, or if we just set up, auto scaling with API nodes and we just kind of not use kubestore at the point. But cool. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Yevgen, you've got something as well.
Yeah, I think I shared it in Slack before, but maybe some people are not aware. So I'm trying to add end-to-end test for product analytics onboarding. So when we have something to deploy, we can test it on staging first before going to production. So at least we will know that, okay, onboarding flow is working. There are some implications, like I will need to enable experimental features on a group to be able to see the dashboards. So currently I'm just using Selenium to click the menu items and then checkbox save changes. I don't think there is API I can hit to enable that. But yeah, I have it working on local with DevKit, and I'm just trying to get it on staging. And then maybe we can chat like whether we want to run it now or we want to wait and run like integrate it in pipelines later, and how we can do that. But I think for now it's just to make it work on staging, and then we can discuss it.
That's
100% now. 100% now.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll try to work on it a bit more active, because I had some tasks from quality group as well. But yeah, I'll try to get it ready this week.
You mentioned that you weren't sure if there was another way to enable experimental features, but isn't that a column that we can flip in the database? Max, I know you worked on that last. Like there's.
Yep.
I don't know if our tests allow that, but no, we should
Yeah,
be
I
able
don't know
to, because don't we have like Rails preset up to like configure things like experiment features, like if we need to flip a column, or
I can check with quality department if we can do that, if anyone does that already, like updating database during the test.
There is, I'm pretty sure, because the work I tried to do was to try and decouple experiment features from AI, it's possible you might need to enable an AI feature flag to see the experimental checkbox, or it might, maybe it's SAS only.
It is SAS only.
It's SAS only. SAS only group. You need SAS only instance level setting. Go to the group and then enable the experiment features. So I'm curious if there's like another way to like, I don't know how standard it is. I haven't seen the quality test for some time, but like just flipping it directly to enabled so that he can skip some of the UI based flow. But
for now, I will just use UI based. It's working fine. But yeah, if I find a way, I will do it directly. It would be much better. I also will need like a ultimate group, so I do that as well. After creating group, I'm upgrading it to ultimate. So yeah, these two things. I would like to just hit API and enable that, but for now I'll keep UI.
Is there anything we can do to help as far as like supporting the staging testing, or is it just some setup that you need to get through at some point?
Yeah, I need to do a few things. So because I cannot run test against staging right now, because it needs updates in front end to have some test IDs for elements. So I'll split MR into two. I will have one to update these test IDs, then merge it, and then from local I can run test against staging and see if it's passing, and then I'll go into MR review for these tests, hopefully. And if I feel there is something I need assistance or help with, I'll reach out, of course.
Definitely, but that's super exciting. It'd be great to get that into the pipelines that, as we're becoming very structured now, where every change can be validated. So that's good stuff. Thanks, Evgen. All right.
For feedback.
We've reached the end of the agenda. Is there anything else anyone would like to bring up? Brian, well, it's good to see everyone. Have a good rest of your Tuesday, rest of your Halloween if you're celebrating, and see you next time.